Good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome to the University of Edinburgh Business School. Welcome to you, Ambassador, and to you, Cabinet Secretary. My name's Owen Kelly. I'm Director of Internationalisation here at the Business School, and we are really delighted to be collaborating again with our long-established friends and partners at the Asia Scotland Institute. It's always a pleasure to be able to work with them, and my role this morning is a very simple one, simply on behalf of the Principal and the Dean of the University, the Principal of the University, Sir Peter Matheson, and the Dean of the Business School, Gavin Jack, simply to welcome you here and to wish you every success with your deliberations. But with those good wishes for today's proceedings and deliberations, I'll hand over immediately to Roddy Gown. Thank you.
Owen, thank you very much. And as Owen has said, we have a long-standing relationship with the Business School and with the University, who've been very helpful to the Asia Scotland Institute since we started 13 years ago, with a very simple core mission, which is to educate and inspire tomorrow's leaders and others in Scotland to be able to engage in this, the century of Asia. And with everything that's going on in the United States at the moment, with the Trump administration, essentially the withdrawal of the United States from much of its global role makes understanding Asia even more important. The procedures today are going to be that the Minister is very kindly going to speak first. He then has to go off to another event, and then I will introduce the Ambassador, who we're delighted to have here, and his panel. The Ambassador will speak, and then we have a panel during the morning which will be moderated by Jonathan Di Rollo, our Director of Development. And just ready to put this in context, we've just come off two meetings. One was with Sir Malcolm Rivkin, who was talking about the great game that's going on, and that was in Edinburgh, and that was followed by George Robertson, who's recently completed the Defence Review, which was looking at maritime security and threats to merchant trade, and he's come off the Defence Review, as I've said. On the 13th of next month, we have Haruko Fukuda talking at the New Club about her book, and then on the 19th we have Philip Luck, formerly of the State Department of the United States, now with CSIS, talking about what's going on in the world of trade. Angus Robertson will need little introduction to you because he's much about and very much the external face of the Scottish Government as Cabinet Secretary. He's Scotland's Cabinet Secretary for the Constitution, External Affairs and Culture, and he represents Edinburgh Central in the Scottish Parliament and leads on international relations, constitutional policy and culture. So he is absolutely the right person to have sharing his thoughts with us this morning. Minister.
Thank you so much, Roddy. It's great to be here. What an amazing venue. Thank you so much to the University of Edinburgh. It's a joy to be talking about Scotland and Indonesia, and it's also an opportunity for me to say, because there's a great many people in the room who are Indonesians who study here and live here. It's a delight to see you here and to pay tribute to the Indonesian community in Scotland, and also a joy for me this morning to meet with the Ambassador to talk about the opportunities that there are for both of our countries, although on different sides of the world, to embrace the opportunities that we have. And that's why I'm really keen to hear more about your deliberations to work out what we can do more of, maybe less of, maybe differently, but I think there are, for the reasons that Roddy just said about the next century and the important role, the preeminent role that Asia will play, that we in Scotland are positioned to be a partner for you. I'd like to begin my remarks by welcoming Ambassador Percaya to Scotland and extending my sincere thanks to the Asia Scotland Institute for organising today's event and inviting me to speak about relations between Indonesia and Scotland. And I'm very hopeful that today's event will increase our understanding about the areas for collaboration and potential in future years. Scotland is rightly regarded as a friendly nation interested in establishing close relations and economic ties with international partners, and we have a reputation for being a welcoming country, I hope, to live in, to work, to visit, and we're also very interested in understanding the experiences of people who visited Scotland in order to solidify and to enhance our people-to-people links. In business, Scotland is also seen as a world-class destination for investment and as a reliable trade partner, and in order to ensure that we maintain this reputation, we will continue to respect international law, we will continue to support human rights, and we will continue to promote fair trade in our trading relationships, and to be guided by principles that support sustainability and equality. Many of you present today will be well aware of the vast potential that Indonesia possesses, with its sheer size, its large working age population and growth forecasts, with some projections even having Indonesia as the 4th largest economy by 2045, although we are all acutely aware how global challenges can affect future growth. Indonesia's consistent growth makes it the current largest economy in ASEAN, a region of great and growing interest both politically and economically. And Scotland is interested in engaging with ASEAN as a bloc, but also sees a huge potential in engaging on a bilateral basis with individual nations such as Indonesia. In October last year, the Ambassador and his colleagues from the Indonesian Embassy visited Glasgow for an Indonesian business outreach event, and in her remarks on stage, the Scottish Government's Higher Education, Trade and Investment Envoy, Wendy Alexander, showcased the links between Scotland and Indonesia in a variety of fields. The success of this event was also partly due to the efforts of another of our trade and investment envoys, Ainsley Mann, who focuses on opportunities between Indonesia and Scotland. Ainsley has a wealth of experience, and we greatly appreciate the work he does to foster deeper business and cultural links between the two nations. Also understand that Ainsley supported bringing over the Trinity Youth Symphony Orchestra to the Edinburgh Festival last year, and this group, inspired by Scottish and Indonesian heritage, combines music and culture from the two nations, creating a unique performance, and I think this serves as a fantastic example of cultural collaboration for the future. Following on from last October's business event in November, we were delighted to welcome Ambassador Percaya alongside other heads of mission to the UK from ASEAN countries to Scotland to undertake a programme of engagements in various fields such as energy transition, food and drink culture and higher education. The group met with the First Minister and the Minister for Higher Education, with the First Minister welcoming the opportunity to engage further and the group exchanging views on economic and social cooperation. While I was unable to meet the delegation due to pre-existing commitments, I was delighted to hear about the success of the visit, and I am hopeful that it paves the way for future collaboration, something that I was discussing with the Ambassador before this session started, both with the group as a whole of ambassadorial colleagues, but also with the individual nations that were in attendance. These examples, alongside today's event, are evidence that Scotland is serious and eager to engage with Indonesia. The Scottish Government and our International Economic Development Agency, Scottish Development International, SDI, are committed to strengthening our relationship with other nations and supporting opportunities for increased trade between Scotland and the world. We're keen to work with SDI, the Indonesian Embassy and Ainsley Mann, who I mentioned earlier, in order to understand the potential for further collaboration between Scotland and Indonesia. In conclusion, unfortunately, I'm unable to stay for the remainder of today's event, as I have an engagement in a few minutes in the Scottish Parliament at 10 o'clock. However, I want to once again thank the Asia Scotland Institute for asking me to speak today, and for all the good works that they undertake throughout the year. I'd also like to put on record my appreciation to the Indonesian Ambassador and the ambassadorial team for again visiting Scotland to explore the array of opportunities for collaboration between ourselves and Indonesia, and I wish this collaboration the best of luck for the future. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you very much. Good. So now we will roll on with our programme, and I want to just say a few words to welcome the Ambassador. he is obviously the ambassador to the UK, but he's also accredited to Ireland and the International Maritime Organization. Throughout his career, Ambassador Desra has been deeply engaged in shaping Indonesia's foreign policy, about which I'm sure he will have something to say, but particularly in the areas of international peace and security, disarmament, human rights, economic development, and social and humanitarian affairs. Before his current appointment, he served as the Director General for Asia Pacific and Africa at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia from 2016 to 2020. And from 2012 to 2016, he was Indonesia's permanent representative to the United Nations in New York. The ambassador earned his bachelor's degree from the Faculty of Political and Social Sciences at Airlangga University in Indonesia, but he later obtained a master's degree from Birmingham and a doctorate from Durham University in England. So he knows the UK, he has a lot to say about what's going on internationally, and there can be no one better to introduce his country to us today. Mr. Ambassador.
Very good morning, everyone. I'm always embarrassed when people read out my CV. It tells you how old you are, how old I am. Thank you very much, Roddy, my good friend, for the introduction. The Right Honourable Angus Robertson, I think he has just left earlier, Mr. Owen Kelly, Mr. Roddy Coe, OBE, Chairman and founder of Asia Scotland Institute. Esteemed speakers, moderators, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning. It is always a pleasure going back to Scotland, especially Edinburgh. Yes, as State Cabinet Secretary mentioned earlier, I was here in last year with the ASEAN ambassadors engaging with the Scottish government on how we could increase business and trade cooperation with the ASEAN countries. I'm always captivated by Edinburgh, by the beauty of the city, as well as the haunting grace of Highland Cathedral. I play saxophone, and I'm very proud to say that I can play Highland Cathedral in saxophone. I think if there is any invitation, I will a bit show off my capability. And I'm also very, very honored and happy to be welcomed by more than 1,000 Indonesians who live and study here in Scotland. I think around 1,230, and half of them are students. So I think it is getting more popular to study in the UK, especially Scotland, and the parents now, they are a little bit hesitant to send the students, their kids, to go to the US, and they prefer UK, I think, because of the not only the quality of education, but also more secure and safe. Welcome to the Indonesian Business Outreach Forum today. This is our second event. Last October, we convened a similar event in Glasgow. My deepest gratitude to the Asia Scotland Institute and University of Edinburgh for the excellent collaboration in organizing this event. Sincere thanks also to Bank Indonesia, Pak Wira is here, Bank Mandiri and Arun Mitchell LLP for their tremendous support for the embassy's team. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to share with you 3 points to set the scene of our discussion today. First, trade and investment cooperations between Indonesia and UK are growing steadily. Last year's figure suggests the total trade between Indonesia and the UK is US $2.69 billion, a little bit of an increase, 2.55 from 2023. While in terms of investment, UK is the second largest partner for Indonesia in Europe and ranked 10 globally. However, these figures have not fully resonated the potential of our two countries. I believe a lot can be done and ample room for further improvement. Specifically, last year, Indonesia and UK launched a new strategic partnership covering 3 issues: sustainable economic growth and human development, defense and foreign policy, as well as climate change, energy transition, and SDGs. Which then bring me to my second point on Indonesia's robust economy. Indonesia is the largest economy in Southeast Asia and home to 280 million people, over 70% of whom are in their productive years. This demographic strength is key to our future, and Indonesia is also sitting on the crossroads between Indian and Pacific Ocean. Indonesia is the perfect hub for the Asia-Pacific region. My country also has been very successful to maintain a stable economic growth around 5% since COVID-19 pandemic, and even aiming to reach 8% annual growth by 2029. To support this goal, Indonesia has introduced key policies including a free nutrition meal program, food and security, energy security efforts, and the launch of its sovereign wealth fund in February 2021. The Indonesian government also continues to implement economic transformation, focusing on downstream industries, green energy, and value-added exporting goods. A long list of enhanced and improved incentives has also been offered to business, ranging from tax holiday to streamline immigration process. And our colleague, Mbak Dinda, from the Indonesia Investment Promotion Center and Bank Indonesia will elaborate further in this panel later on. Indonesia is also expanding its international presence by joining the OECD and formally applying to join CPTPP in a bid to grow trade value among member countries, including United Kingdom. My third and my final point, given the current economic challenges, we need to pursue all avenues for concrete implementation of the new strategic partnership between Indonesia and the UK. Our two leaders have laid a solid foundation of this partnership, among others, UK's companies' commitment to $8.5 billion investment, development of sustainable marine industry, including fishing vessels procurement through UKEF financing scheme, and the launch of Blue Planet Fund, country plan for Indonesia, to drive investment to sustainable coastal ecosystem. Thus, today's business outreach aims to build collaboration with Scottish Government, universities and business to identify how low-hanging fruits in areas such as renewable energy, food and agribusiness, education, and health. Ladies and gentlemen, our team from the embassy, including Bank Indonesia, Indonesia Investment Promotion Center, and Bank Mandiri, will be happy to have further discussion with you to grow your business in Indonesia. To conclude, I am confident that our joint efforts today will pave the way for stronger investment and trade cooperation between Indonesia and the United Kingdom. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. My name is Jonathan Durrell. I'm the Director of Development for the Age of Scotland Institute. And I think We're going to kick off our panel presentation, speakers today with a presentation by each speaker. Is that correct? Yes? Okay. Right. Thank you very much, Chevy, for organizing the slides. We're going to start off with Mr. Wirakusama. Welcome to Edinburgh. Wirakusama is the Executive Director for Bank Indonesia in London.
His Excellency, Mr. Desra Percaya, our Ambassador to United Kingdom and Ireland, and the Right Honourable Angus Robertson, just left, Mr. Owen Kelly, the Director, and Mr. Rodrigo and Jonathan from Asia Scottish Institute. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Very good morning to all of you. Pak Desra already mentions about the diversity of Indonesia. We have many islands, many cultures, many languages, but we are united as one nation. I would like to talk about stability. Yeah? We have a very relatively good stability in terms of political and economic stability. Both political and economic stability is a key or a very important foundation for economic activities, including investments. So I would like to talk first about economic stability in terms of macroeconomic perspective, Jonathan. If you look at the slide, I forgot to mention that recently we have earned a credit investment grade rating from several major credit rating agencies such as Fitch, Moody's, Japan Credit Ratings, Standard & Poor, and this is a result of our economic stability and resilient external sectors, as long as the strong economic growth. In this slide, we have the inflation of Indonesia remains under control within the target 2.5% plus minus 1. Yeah. If you look at the graph here, the inflation is in declining trend. Yeah. The latest update in March, it reached 1.03%. And it is supported by low volatile food inflation and administered price inflation. Meanwhile, the core inflation is relatively stable, around 2.5%. It reflects the stable domestic demands of Indonesia. And we have also resilient external sector. It's supported by adequate reserves. We have sound balance of payment and healthy external debt profile. It is reflected on the robust rupiah exchange rates. Yeah. Amidst the global turbulence, our depreciation rate relatively low. Yeah, is less than 7% compared to other countries. And historically, we also have a very prudent fiscal policy. It is maintains less than 3% of our GDP. Yeah. And we also have solid economic growth. I forgot to mention that we also have track record of peaceful political transition. Now we have a new administration. It's around not less than one year up to now. Now I would like to talk about the solid economic growth. Yeah, our forecast is 4.7 to 5.5% this year. However, after the Trump tariff, some international organizations such as IMF, ADB, and OECD already revised the forecast of all countries. Yeah, our forecast by the IMF is around 4.7 this year and 4.9 increasing into 2026, but it is relatively high, yeah, compared to other emerging markets. Also the inflation is still within the targets, it's 2.5%. Yeah. Now I would like to compare the some fundamental economic indicator to the historical period of crisis. The next slide, please. Here, there are I present four economic indicators here. The inflations, the IDR movements, external debt to GDP ratio, and foreign reserve. Comparing to the two major economic crises in Indonesia, Asian financial crisis 1998 and also the global financial crisis 2008, inflation nowadays is relatively low, 1.03%, as I previously mentioned. Compared to during the Asian financial crisis, is reached 82%, and global financial crisis 12%. IDR movement also shows better shape, yeah, is less than 7%, the depreciation rate year to date until April 2025. External debt GDP ratio as indicator of external sectors, it is also significantly lower than 1998 crisis, yeah, is around 30% of our GDP. Also another external indicator, the foreign reserve. Now we reach 157.1 billion US dollar. Yeah, it is significantly higher than the previous crisis, and it covers 6 months of import and external debt repayments. It is it is high above the, what do you call it, a conventional figure is 3 months of import. Yeah. Now about the current issue. About the impact of Trump tariff, yeah, the impact of Trump tariff to Indonesia. How is it compared to other countries? Structurally, Indonesia is less exposure to U.S. Economy, the trade. Yeah, I put here export to U.S. as percentage of GDP. Comparing to, let's say, Vietnam, is 33%. Yeah. Indonesia only have exposure to U.S. export is 2.2%. So structurally, given the structure of the trade to U.S., should be the impact, direct and indirect impact should be very low. Yeah. Now I put some calculation from the IMF. Yeah. The graph on the right. Yeah. I take this, it is the deviation from the forecast the IMF in October before the Trump tariff, yeah, and I take the latest update, yeah, the latest update of the IMF forecast for some countries. The deviation in 2025 for Indonesia is only -0.4. In 2026, 0.2%. So compared to other countries, is relatively the impact is limited. I cannot say we are immune to this Trump tariff, but relatively the impact is limited. So given the structure of the economy, the next slide, this is because the structure of the economy itself and also the coordination among the policymakers in Indonesia to maintain the economic stability in Indonesia. We in Bank Indonesia, we have a combination of policies, yeah, we call it policy mix. We have monetary policy, we have macroprudential policy, we have payment system policy, also we have money market deepening and policy for inclusive and green economy and finance. So we use this of 5 policy, combine this policy in facing these headwinds. Yeah. In national level, we also have a very good coordination among the policymakers in financial sector as well as in real sectors. So these two are a very key, the good shape of the economic indicator of Indonesia and also the synergy among the policymakers in Indonesia in facing the headwinds. So we try to maintain the stability, yeah, because it is important for investment. So given the stability, it will create abundant opportunities of investment in Indonesia. So I will stop here, Jonathan, and we shall invite ladies and gentlemen to invite Indonesia, invest in Indonesia. Thank you.
Weera, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, just before I open up to questions, thank you very much for your very insightful presentation. My name is Jonathan Durrell. I lived the last 15 years of my life in Malaysia, during which time I visited Indonesia for wonderful tourism experiences. I highly recommend it as a destination. I also did some work for various entities in Indonesia, including entrepreneurs. Now, One thing I picked up on is in such a country that's so diverse in terms of geography, digital transformation is possibly the most important economic factor affecting the entire economy. So I'd like to start off by asking you, would you like to give us a little bit of context about digitalization, specifically in banking, given that the uptake of e-commerce, e-wallets across Asia is much faster than in Great Britain and in Europe?
Okay. As I already mentioned, one of the policies in Bank Indonesia is about payment system. It is accelerating very massive. Yeah, it's very significant. I don't have the figure here. Retail banks and so on, all of them have, digitalization. We have also CRIS, yeah, Quick Response Indonesia standards, yeah, and also we try to make it across border among the Asian countries, so we can tap CRIS using our account in Malaysia, for example, Thailand, and so on. So it will, what do you call it, to make less dependence on currency outside, dominant currency like US dollar. So I think in terms of digitalization, it is very fast, the acceleration, yeah. The government also use digitalization for the payment and so on. Most of private sector also apply this digitalization. So I think the investment in terms of digitalization is very massive. Maybe later on, Dinda will talk about that in more detail with digitalization.
Thank you very much. Now let me ask you another question. Given the main policy objective is stability with maintaining high growth, yes, okay. So is the growth across Indonesia balanced growth, or are there hotspots? And does the government have specific sectors that it supports and specific areas that would be interesting for foreigners to invest in?
Yeah, this is a very good question, Jonathan. Based on the diversity we have a very specific, of course the international level is the same, yeah, but the execution is different. Yeah. For example, about how to maintain the inflation. Yeah. We have a special region, like we divide the regions for Sumatra, Sumatra, the big island on the west side. We have Jawa, we have Sulawesi, yeah, Sulawesi and Papua, and we have Kalimantan, the Borneo Islands. Yeah. So we try to identify what is the source of inflation in each region. Yeah. Fortunately, Bank Indonesia, who has a mandate to stabilize the inflation, we have branches in every provinces. So we try to coordinate with the regional governments, identify the source of inflation, mostly the volatile food inflation, because what makes volatile of inflation in Indonesia is food inflation. So we try to address the problem in every region specifically based on our identification. For example, what happened in Sumatra, the source of inflation in Sumatra, it's most about supply factor. Yeah. If we are talking about the monetary policy in developed countries, it's mostly about demand, right? We just try to adjust the interest rate and so on. It is not applicable in Indonesia because the main factor of the volatility of inflation is the food inflation. It's about distribution, about a good agriculture process and so on. So we try to address those things by strengthening the coordination with the regional government in its provinces. That's one example.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, just a final question. Given that you're saying that the effects of the American trade tariffs will not be significant on Indonesia, We've got the question of the exchange rate, okay, and possible, in previous experience, the Asian crisis, the meltdown. An investor from Scotland or anyone thinking of doing business in Indonesia, they make a healthy profit. Two questions. Are they going to see that disappear with the exchange rate? And how can they get their money in and out of Indonesia? Is it easy for foreign entities to deal with the exchange rate in Indonesia?
Yeah, I think it's about the stability of the rupiah, right? When we put the money, for example, if we would like to invest in local currency, we have to exchange the US dollar, for example, or pound sterling. So the stability of the exchange rate is really matters in this case. Yeah. What we are doing is try to maintain the volatility of exchange rate, rupiah exchange rate. It will be in line with the fundamental factors, yeah, not too excessive volatility. So what we have in Indonesia, in particular in Bank Indonesia, we use the interest rate, yeah, yield differential matters in this case. Yeah, try to maintain the yield differential should be competitive among the peers countries. We also have a domestic non-delivery forwards, yeah, to maintain the premium swaps, yeah. And we also nowadays, because of the Liberation Day, we have a very significant depreciation. We also intervene not only in the spot intervention, but also in NDF non-delivery forward for example, in Singapore market, European market, and so on. So Bank Indonesia will be in the market to monitor the volatility of rupiah so that it will not, there is no excessive volatility.
Thank you very much for your answer. Now, I'd like to open up to questions from the floor. Anyone who would like to pose a question about Indonesia's economy or banking sector in specifically?
So the impact of Trump tariffs onto Indonesia is relatively minimal, but does the Indonesian government see any opportunity there with such a high impact on Chinese exports? For example, solar panels and whatnot that would be previously sent towards US that may now be coming onto the market at a cheaper rate, potentially increase the speed of the energy transition potentially by importing solar panels at a lower price. So has there been any thought as to that's the risk associated with the Trump tariffs? What's the opportunity associated with the Trump tariffs?
This calculation based on the direct effect and indirect effect by the IMF. Yeah. Direct effect means, of course, because the tariff, we cannot export to US directly based on the tariff. Yeah. Indirect effects because there is a trade war between China and US, it will reduce the growth of China, of course. China is our main trading partner, so it will become a risk also, indirectly. But we also have an opportunity to fill the gap or to substitute the China export to US. We have identified, I forget what kind of commodities that can be boosted to substitute the export to US, similar to China. I think that's all I can answer your question about the product of detail. I don't know. I will talk about that later. Thank you.
Yes, a gentleman at the back. No, do we have a? Would you like to?
Andrew Bell, representing Uzbekistan as it happens, but Uzbekistan is a Muslim country. Indonesia is the largest Muslim country outside of Arabia, of course. Related to your briefing, I'm interested to know what your position, looking at a country like Scotland or even the West, and I know it's well established, but I'd love to hear more about it, is the effect of Islamic banking rules on the Indonesian banking system, and how we should prepare ourselves to have knowledge about it.
About halal banking systems, we are in the process of developing the halal systems, not only in the financial sectors, but also the way to develop the halal in the real sectors. Yeah, like the halal product and so on. We try to develop in every aspect of in a retail product and so on. In banking sectors, lastly we what do you call it? Make a kind of a holding bank. Yeah, try to integrate all the Syariah banks in Indonesia, become one bank, so that it will be more efficient, or it will accelerate the development of the Syariah economy, halal economy in Indonesia. Thank you.
Anyone, would you like to add on a question? Yeah.
Just the stability aspects for investing in Indonesia. The Palestine situation, of course, is a background factor. I don't know if religion has an aspect that we should all consider when we're dealing with Indonesia as the largest Muslim country.
Okay.
How do you assure us?
Okay.
How do we assure you?
I think, do you mean there is a kind of specific issue on, as we are a Muslim country? I don't think, to be honest, we are a very moderate Muslim countries. Yeah. For example, I'm Hindu. Yeah, I'm Hindu. I have ever experienced as a chief in Sumatra. Yeah, Sumatra is largest Muslim people there. So I feel very, I mean, the people are very friendly to me. There is no kind of discrimination between Hindu and Muslim and Christian and so on. So, moreover, we are talking about the business, yeah, investment. It's about money. Money, there is no, religion on the money, I think. So, there is no issue on religion if we are talking about the business on economy, I think. Yeah.
If I may add on.
Yeah, maybe Pak Desra.
You certainly may. Yeah.
Well, Pak Vira is more of making money part, but I'm more of making sure that stability is there. First, very good question, and I do understand your concern. But first, by constitution, and I think in terms of legal framework, it is guaranteed. Don't worry. Secondly, in every country, any community, any society, there is always what you call it, extremist or radical. Even here in the UK, remember when the Labour government took power, the right wing was on the rise. But I think similar to Indonesia, the government is very strong, the legal base is very strong, and I can testify that these so-called extremists, radicals, and terrorists, they are checked. There has been no incident. The last one was the Bali bombing in 2002, I think. It was the only one. So I think do not worry on the so-called the threat of extremists, radical, and this terrorism as well. I think it proves that up to now there is no incident at all. And we do also have very strong agency, BNPT, anti-terrorism agency. They are working very, very, very strong, especially using human intelligence. So I think it's not a big issue. I can assure you on that one. Sorry for taking the floor, Jonathan.
Oh,
because,
please,
more.
No, it's great. Less, thank you.
Because I talk about the economic stability. This is more about political stability.
Okay, well, I think I'd like to jump in there and say that obviously they're both as intertwined. Now, I spent a number of years in China myself, and what drives the Chinese economy fundamentally to be stable and insulated is the extremely high savings rate, okay, and how the banking system keeps liquid. Is that the same case in Indonesia? Is a very high savings rate? Is the savings in the banking system, or is it under the mattress?
I think if we compare to China, it's less.
Okay.
Yeah, it is easy to check. Yeah, a current account deficit happens in Indonesia, but it's still relatively well maintained. It's around minus something, yeah, very, very low. But it reflects the saving -1, minus investment is, less saving. So unlike in China, I think China is current account deficit. There is no current account deficit, surplus, I think. So.
Great, thank you very much. Do we have another question from the lady there? Please do tell us your name and who you represent.
Thank you very much. My name is Nadia Ulfa. I'm a student of University of Edinburgh. I'm studying the MBA. Pak Wira, thank you for very great presentations. I'd like to ask you one question. While Bank Indonesia may not directly fund sustainable energy, how is it using its monetary, macroprudential, and financial systems roles to support the growth of sectors like electric vehicles and renewables in Indonesia?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Very good question. We, Bank Indonesia, as I previously mentioned, our playing fields in the macroeconomic, yeah. We try to maintain the conducive economic conditions by stabilizing the inflation and the exchange rate. So, that is very key for investment in every field, yeah, investment, including the renewables, yeah. But we also have macroprudential policies. Yeah. Macroprudential policies, it is related to the reserve requirement held by the bank. Yeah. For example, we reduce the level of reserve requirements as long as the banks can channel the credit to specific sectors. So it is targeted, including the renewable sectors. So that's the way we try to support growth, in particular for the specific sectors. Of course, should be in line with the government's programs for the medium and long-term development goal. That's all I can answer.
Thank you very much. Another question? The lady over there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, moderator. Pak Wira, can I look again to the slide about the mixed policy? There's a point about that's it, policy mix, real sector transformation. I'd like to hear more about that. Because I'm Indonesian, my name is Maria. I'm trying to set up this Indonesian Scotland Institute here. And my interest is about the future of Indonesia, because we have to also, to be honest, we also have difficulty in terms of unemployment. And as a banking sector, I want to hear about what actually real sector transformation is, in your point of view. And one of it, because we also realize that our middle class is declining. And that's one of the problems that need to be addressed, I think, if we want to have an open conversation. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, actually, this is about related to the real sector, more about government's address, but let me try to answer this. We, the governments, realize there is kind of a structural problems in Indonesia. Yeah. Take, for example, we have in the simple production function, Cobb-Douglas, yeah. There is a productivity, there is a capital and labor. So we have problem on these three. Yeah. So this new administration try to continue the effort of the previous administrations. Yeah. The previous administration has already done massive infrastructure developments. It's addressed the capital in that production functions. And now we also try to, we have a program of a free nutritious meal. Yeah. It tried to address the labor, because we have a demographic dividends. We have to, to use these periods, these golden periods, so that the people become really dividends, yeah, not liabilities. So in productivity, maybe Dinda will talk about that more. We try to deregulation, yeah, so that the investment will flowing to Indonesia. Why is that? Because government try to push, it's rather ambitious, 8%, yeah, 8% of GDP. Meanwhile, we have less saving compared to China, yeah, but we need more investment. So how to do that? We try to increase the saving. We try to address to increase the tax ratio. We are doing the systems, yeah, rebuild the system of the tax. We call it core tax, yeah, core tax. And for investment, how to push the investment, in particular the finance investment, yeah. We built Danantara. Yeah, this is a new entity in Indonesia. Try to leverage the state-owned enterprise in Indonesia so that it can leverage the asset so that we can, invest more. So there's things are in going process. Hopefully it can be successful so that we can reach that 8% and address structural, and we also increase the middle lower incomes. Yeah. I think that's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your very enlightening speech. Thanks, Anata. Okay. Moving swiftly on, I'd like to introduce Siti Faria, who is Director, Indonesian Investment Promotion Center in London. Welcome.
Thank you, Jonathan. Very good morning to you all, His Excellency, Dr Desra Percaya, and distinguished guests, also our moderator, and also fellow speakers. Well, although I've been doing it several times, but doing the presentation in front of great people here, always nerve-wracking. So my stumble presentation. So let me begin to invite you all where Pak Wira already established economic fundamentals of Indonesia. And now I would like to invite you to further to invest in Indonesia. Why Indonesia and why now? So what we've Pak Wira already straight out, aside of our economic growth and also GDP, we, Indonesia, stand as a attractive FDI destination. Like I just found out that this morning from the FDI intelligence that we're still in the 9th place of FDI destinations globally, where we have secured an FDI inflow of up to 114 billion US dollar last year only, which is grew about 20.8% year on year. And aside from the economic, we also have, yes, the population, which over 270, and maybe there's also data mentioning about 280 million populations with the median age of 29 to 30, which is definitely a source for lucrative markets, both for e-commerce, fintech, and of course the consumer goods. But aside of it becomes a lucrative market, it also become a potential workforce for everybody who is interested to invest in Indonesia. The main problems may be in the terms of skill, but it will be addressed in later on my later on presentations. And aside from a reach with the demographic, with the young populations, we also reach in natural resources. Namely, we have palm oil, coal, rubber, minerals, and natural gas, and also metals. And our strong productions of nickel and copper also have positioned us in the center of EV manufacturing and EV markets. I believe this wealth of natural resources provide abundant opportunities for downstream industries of manufacturing and processing industry for both minerals and also in agriculture and fisheries as well. This whole abundant wealth inside of populations and also with the natural resources, we also been, and it's all underpinned with the, maybe you can call it political stability, and also with the continued ongoing regulatory reforms, which maybe some of it already mentioned by Pawira just now, that we have our omnibus law that we streamline the licensing process of doing business in Indonesia, and some of we reduced all the hurdles in doing processing the licensing and also starting business in Indonesia. And in terms of how usually businesses looking to identify, to decide where to do their business, mostly is because the domestic markets, and also because of the proximity of the markets to the customers. So I believe Indonesia would still be very attractive to all, if I may say the whole world, to be a place for investments. Okay, for the next slide, this is where I talk about why, and now after why, then let's talk about what. Of course, doing business, you have your interest. We have our interests as well as a country. So, in supporting the economic target of growth of 8% in 2029, the government of Indonesia have already set out 9 investment priority sectors, which I believe at least five of these sectors seems like will be attractive for Scottish businesses. Like we have renewable energy sectors, which have a potential of 3,687 gigawatts, which very much the installed capacity is very far away. It comes from several sectors like hydro, and I believe tidal is also Scottish expertise in here. Aside from renewable energy, we have food security. In terms of food security, we have here not only the production side, but it's also in the processing manufacturing, which also included in the downstream industry of agriculture and fisheries. With the I highlight here the seafood consumption, which I believe may be the interests of Scottish businesses, where the seafood consumption last year reached up until 17.85 million tons, which is like 62.5 kilogram per person. So this is a lot, and I believe this is a very huge opportunities there. And then the third one will be the healthcare. In healthcare industry, we have numbers of potential projects in pharmaceuticals, medical services, and medical devices. So, and in terms of supporting these sectors, the government also provide very specific spatial economic zones, which is located in Bali, which I believe the scouting location is very compelling there to add more health to provide a leisure in the health. Aside from there, with the spending of healthcare, it's quite high in terms of per capita up until 2026. I believe healthcare is also lucrative sectors to be eyed on. The next sector will be in the education and vocational. If I want to show you the seriousness of the government in terms of pushing these particular sectors, we provide the the incentive of super tax deductions that will provide tax deductions of until 200% of the gross income based on the education or vocational training costs, and also up until 300% of the R&D activities. So I think this is a good incentive for educational and of course the vocational training investors. Side of that, last but not least, maybe we've talked about the digitalizations just now. The Indonesian digital economy market is projected to reach up until 360 in 2030, and I believe this growth of digital economy definitely a good potential for both industry and also the markets. This is also added with the underdeveloped data centers market. So potential is there. We are just invited you to come and to be partner with us to build this ecosystem together. So after talking about why, and then this is what, and the next question will be where. If we're talking about, of course, you can do business in all over places in Indonesia. There's no restrictions definitely there. But if you want to enjoy more facilities, good facilities in terms of infrastructure or in terms of fiscal, and also with the streamlined processing, licensing processing, then government of Indonesia already provide 25 special economic zones with its dedicated sectors. So when you invest in the your sectors is in line with the designated special economic zone sector, then you will be able to enjoy more incentives in terms of fiscal incentives. So we have special economic zones that is specified for manufacturing, export manufacturing, processing manufacturing. And then we also have special economic zones in education, wellness, and even in tourism and healthcare. So you can choose the primary spot for your business. If then you choose not to do your business in SEZ, of course, not to worry. You can still have do it anywhere, and you can still enjoy several of our investment incentive. Here I can lay you the incentives, investment incentives that you can enjoy, of course, with all terms and conditions applied. We have from the import duty exemption, tax holiday, tax allowance, and also the super tax deductions, definitely. You can, of course, dig that according to your interests, and also your specific sectors will apply in different fiscal incentives categories. And then, yes, last but not least, maybe we believe that investment is not an overnight decision, an overnight thing. That's why we believe that it's like making a lifetime decision. You need to do the close introductions. You need to do the due diligence. You need to do a good scouting, like location scouting, even partner scouting. And throughout the journey, we are of course, from the government of Indonesia with the embassy and also the all relevant institution here, will assist you throughout the journey from bridging with the related stakeholders and, of course, assisting with the procedures up until even you've already made your business in Indonesia. We have like after sales care, that if you have some hurdles in your investment in Indonesia, we have our teams in Jakarta as well, and you can always contact us to have it sorted. I think that's I need to cover up my presentations. Thank you very much for the attention.
Thank you very much, Siti. Now, before I moved back to Scotland last year, I sat down with an economist who'd done some work for one of the Asian central banks. He's a very good economist. I put two economists together and they actually agreed about something. So I asked this guy, what is the most exciting economy in the world at the moment? And he replied, Indonesia. I asked him why, and he said it's the mindset of the people combined with the government support for business. Would you like to tell us about the first part, the talent that exists in Indonesia that potential investors could then leverage?
Okay, speaking of talent, as maybe several of you already know, that that is still our case to keep on continuing improve the talent that we have. But definitely in some part of specific regions of Indonesia, mainly Jakarta, Bandung, Surabaya, the talent is there. I mean, they are ready to work, they are ready to collaborate with the business, of course, with they align with the sectors. And as you mentioned, that the people mindset that they want to grow, they want to not stopping just where they are. So in terms of developing themselves, Indonesian talents definitely can still be grown.
Right. Would you be able to share with maybe one example of a success story of a foreign company in Indonesia that's entered the market? And if I was to ask you, what sector is the most fruitful or most attractive for a foreign company to enter the Indonesian market?
Speaking of maybe we have lots of successful companies actually in Indonesia. Maybe one of the recently that we've facilitated is from the PZ Cousins last year. They have been in Indonesia like, I don't know, 40 years now. And last year they agreed to expand more in Indonesia to diversify their products there. While their product is not only for like a domestic market, it actually to be exported to Africa and also to the Australia. So I think it's one of the examples of the successful journey of investment in Indonesia from UK definitely. For the lucrative sectors, for now maybe because the sectors is very dynamic. For now, the most lucrative sectors will be in digital economy, and this is a very dynamic sector. You can, especially in retails. We also, at the moment, we also push forward for the renewable energy, but there's it will take a kind of a long-term processing if you compare it to the e-commerce or the retail sectors. And we also, the manufacturing sector is still in the focus of government. And if if you can find the right partners and the right off-takers, or you can have your products to be accepted in the markets, both domestics and all the hubs in Asia-Pacific markets from Indonesia, then definitely a go. It won't be, I mean, it will be a lifetime, the best lifetime decisions you ever made.
For foreign companies or foreign entities thinking about entering the market, what would you say is the top difficulty that must be overcome before even market entry? And I'll give you an example. The countries I've lived in, like Malaysia and in China, it was always, for example, the work visa for foreigners was unstable, difficult to obtain, unstable. And for example, if you even just wanted to have performing arts troupes or rock bands or whatever going through these countries, it was difficult even to get a short-term visa, anything like that. That was the main obstacle to startups. Would you like to share whether that's the same case in Indonesia or whether there are other obstacles, and how to get, what are the solutions from, are there any? Yeah.
In terms of immigration, I'm pretty sure it's never be problems in Indonesia. Getting a working visa or a visa on arrival, and also we also have the golden visa program that can be used by the, of course, by the talent persons. I believe it also can be used by the investors. So for the details of the golden visa, of course, we can discuss later because I don't have the details here. But it's definitely a good program for businesses. I think, from my point of view, I think for one thing that may be a challenge for foreign business who want to start business in Indonesia is understanding the legal behind all the business process, and also getting the right partners. I'm not saying the best partners, but I'm saying the right partners. And of course, we are here, the government of Indonesia, the representative here, are ready to help with all the obstacles.
So you actually can direct anyone, for example, in the audience today who wants...
We can connect you with the private sectors. We also have the connections with the Chambers of Commerce of Indonesia, and also with the developers of the special economic zones as well. So I think we can definitely assist you with the obstacles, the preliminary obstacles there.
Sidi, thank you very much. I'd like to open it up to the floor for questions. Anyone like to pose a question to Sidi? Eleanor at the back.
Hi, I'm Eleanor. I'm a student at the University of Edinburgh and a student representative for the ASI. Thank you very much to all our speakers today. I had a question about the priority investment sectors you mentioned, one of which was the upstream semiconductor industry. And I was just wondering if you could go into a bit more detail about what Indonesia's current capacity in that industry is, what its main targets are, and how that fits into the global semiconductor supply chain industry. Thank you.
Thank you. It's definitely a great questions there. Maybe I have to open my cheat sheet first because we have lots of priority sectors here, and in terms of semiconductors, we have specific locations, mainly in the Batam area, which is located near the Singapore. And at the moment, we are really in the process of making to fill in all the supply chains there. I forgot how many companies that already invested in semiconductors. We will definitely provide you the data later on. But we are because of our a lot of abundance of the raw materials, we definitely invite to companies that have the technology, the ability, advanced technology to process these raw materials to be, of course, to be inserted to the supply chain of the semiconductors industry. So I think we are looking forward to any players in the sectors of adding the value of the raw materials itself.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't have another question for Citi. The lady first. Okay, next to Tony.
Thank you for the opportunity. Given the domestic component level requirements, or TKDN, what can be done to assist foreign companies to align with it while ensuring the investment remain viable and competitive in the Indonesian or global supply chain market? Thank you.
Okay, this is a very the updated issues in Indonesia, talking about the TKDN, the domestic compliance. So that is why we actually promote the investment potential in Indonesia. So you can make your, you can introduce the potential, the Indonesia as potential production hub for your supply chains. If I may share you one thing that nowadays, like several days ago, we've managed to ask the supply chain of the H&M actually to also open their factories in Indonesia. So I think by not really centralized in Indonesia, but making it localize it in Indonesia, that's one of the way you can really address the TKDN issues. Another thing that the TKDN itself, the regulation itself, is now being visited. The regulations, we are in the positions of waiting about the how the TKDN regulation is now being reformed. We will wait and see what the current governments will provide the new TKDN regulations with. I believe will be much more business friendly. Do you want to add?
Would you like to add something? Yes.
Regarding TKDNs, the approach will be different based on the direction of the governments. Yeah, in the past, it's about the penalty. Yeah, now it's about incentive. Yeah, the more you have local content, the more you have the incentive. I think that's the main difference approach that the government will take. Thank you.
Gentlemen. Yeah.
Hi there. Thanks, Citi, for your time and for the talk today. That's been great. My name is George Ewing, and I'm representing Walter Scott. I had a question on the downstreaming industry piece here. It seems like a pretty key part of the strategy and growth for Indonesia going forwards. And nickel has obviously been an interesting area in the last decade or so for Indonesia, particularly in the value add multipliers for exports. And I'm wondering if there's any of the other 28 commodities that you're particularly excited about, threats, opportunities. Just great to hear your thoughts on that. Thanks.
I believe that there are definitely, if I'm not mistaken about the questions. Can you please repeat it? I'm afraid that I get the questions wrongly.
Sure, yeah, just on the downstream piece.
Yeah.
If any of the 28 commodities on the priority list particularly excite you you think, for Indonesia to add value and to support further GDP growth in the future?
Yeah, I think nickel and nickel copper definitely still be the star here, but in terms of other, aside from the mineral and critical mineral side, we still push forward to the agricultures and fisheries as well, because we do have abundant sources of that. So as the machine for the economic growth, definitely nickel, coppers, and agricultural side.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gentlemen.
Good morning. Richard Cornwallis from Makram and Tyra in Jakarta, or at least now living here. In connection with the return of the Indonesian team from the US tariff negotiations, President Prabowo mentioned that business licensing will be simplified, and as I think you mentioned earlier to a previous question, local content will be reduced, or local content requirements will be reduced. I think you probably may have answered that by saying that you don't know what is actually coming. My question was, do you know what may be coming in the any simplification of business licensing and regulatory requirements? If the answer to that is no, my other question would be in relation to Danantara, the Sovereign Wealth Fund, which I know the government is hoping will be collaborative, not competitive with the private sector, but with the interest in promoting Danantara and ensuring that it is a success. Are there any, I hear there are concerns that that might affect private investors in some of those areas, and there's a lot, for example, the downstream nickel, I understand that Danantara will be involved in that. Any comments about the potential for Danantara being competitive with private investors and investment?
Okay.
Sorry, that was so long.
If I may comment for the last questions, from my point of view, I believe Danantara won't become the competitor of the private. It definitely be great partners for private sectors to develop more the industry. If maybe you focus on the downstream industry, then definitely Danantara will not become the competitor. For the details of what business will Danantara investing in, I believe there will be another sources for that. But for, I mean, in business, if you cannot compete, then you have to collaborate. I mean, that's the real deal there. And I believe as a government formed, Danantara will not diminish the importance of private sector in Indonesia. In terms of what you call it, in terms of regulations, reforms in Indonesia, as you may already know about the Omnibus Law from 2018 it is a major streamline of licensing process in Indonesia, which accommodate the digital use of licensing process. What we heard, not officially, there will be a good more reduce on how they process the license. There will be we call it like fictive positive, where there will be a certain time for processing the license, and when the technical ministry surpass or not doing the processing in time, then the license will be issued. Just that without the authorizations of the ministry. I think that would be a major streamline as well as in terms of licensing. Thank you.
Thank you. Final question from anyone? Oh, gentleman at the back, please.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Sultan, and I'm a student here, film studies master, and also I'm a film producer. And I would like to ask about creative industry sector, because it is not within the priority sectors, and what can be done for the creative industry sector, since, yeah, like I said before, it's not included in the priority. While I will talk with my industry myself in the film industry, Indonesia, for the couple of years, the return of investment rate is very high. I mean, like, there's several films that reach like 30 times of the production value, which is very magical. So what can be done for the creative industry sectors? That's my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Maybe I would like to comment why it is not in the 9 priority sectors. I think because it itself, even without spatial incentives, it can grow. It can grow exponentially. And in terms of creative industry, I believe we have there have been ongoing reforms in terms of the intellectual property issues. I think that will also can address the how to expand or to develop the economic industry in Indonesia. So I think the visit or the continuing regulations reforms in terms of that will favor the creative economy, and also I believe the creative economy now has a specific ministry in Indonesia. I think that will provide more focus on the regulation side to have a more insight to maybe will support the economic creative in Indonesia. Thank you, Jim.
Cindy, thank you very much for your questions and answers. Moving swiftly on, I'd like to introduce Sarah Lau, who is the head of China and ASEAN desk at Irwin Mitchell, the UK's largest national law firm, and Sarah is an expert in cross-cultural legal affairs. Is that correct?
Yes, I would say that. I don't like calling myself an expert on anything, but I certainly do a lot of cross-cultural stuff.
Right, great. We're looking forward to hear about it.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, everybody here, Your Excellency. Thank you to the Asia Scottish Institute for organizing this and the university for hosting us. So I am Sarah, and I am a barrister. I trained in the UK many years ago. I originally come from Singapore and Malaysia. I have Malaysian heritage, but I grew up in Singapore. I run the China and ASEAN desk here at Irwin Mitchell. As Jonathan kindly mentioned, we are the largest UK law firm. We're the largest full-service law firm in the UK. Can we have the slides, please? Just a little bit about Irwin Mitchell. We have 22 offices across the country, including 5 in Scotland, 1 in Edinburgh itself. So we cover both English and Scottish law, which is fairly unique for English law firms. Next slide, please. So we're talking about setting up in Indonesia, and I am an English lawyer. I'm not an Indonesian lawyer, but there are certain things that you need to look at as a broad brush approach to going into a foreign country, and it's the same considerations wherever you go. So I want to talk about a few sort of headlines. The first thing you should think about when you're thinking of doing business in another country is the entity, how you approach your presence in that country. So in Indonesia, there are three ways of looking at it. You can be a wholly or partial owned foreign entity. So you could set up a PTPMA. You could set up a joint venture, so you can go with a local partner. A joint venture can be something that's done by creating an entity, or you could just enter into a contractual relationship to share profits with a local partner. And finally, there's the representative office. I mean, they all have their advantages and disadvantages. I mean, for example, if you have a joint venture, then, well, there's a saying, if you have a partner, you have a master. So whatever you do, you have to get the other person's approval, and that may not be suitable for some companies who want the autonomy. If you want to set up a representative office, I think a lot of people, when they test the waters in a foreign country, they do look at representative office because the compliance is more relaxed. And you don't have to come up with the foreign capital that you do. In certain countries, there is a minimum paid-up capital. You don't have that. But you can't generate income, you can't generate profits. So that's the limitation of having a representative office. It's really a marketing presence, but it's good to test the waters. It's good to be established in a country, have feet on the ground, and to see whether or not this is the country for you to enter into, that this market is something that is attractive to you finally, before you put in your large capital injection. And then finally, you have the setting up a limited company. I've done sort of a rough comparison between the UK and Indonesia. So you can, I think we're all fairly familiar with how things are done in the UK. There are some material differences. The one I would highlight is the minimum paid-up capital. As we know, in the UK, there is no minimum. You can set up a company with £1. In Indonesia, there is the requirement of 10 million rupiah, which is equivalent to roughly £520,000. So that's there for a reason. Indonesia needs to protect their local economy, the small businesses. So they want to attract, larger businesses with big capital injection into the country. So that makes perfect sense. Next slide, please. So the next thing we look at is once you've entered the country, you've got to employ people to work for you. It could be local staff, it could be staff that you decide to bring over from the UK because you're familiar with them. You've got to think about visas and how easy it is to get visas. One thing Indonesia has is that they have certain laws protecting local staff. So, for example, while your directors can be foreigners, but the director of personnel must be Indonesian. And if you decide to bring foreign staff into Indonesia, for every foreign staff you bring into Indonesia, you must have a local counterpart. So I think that is in line with Indonesia's policy of training and the transfer of knowledge. They want to make sure that when you bring foreign talent in, you have a local staff who is learning from that foreign talent. You've got to think about, next slide please. Intellectual property is a big one for a lot of companies, especially tech companies looking to go into Indonesia. Indonesia, like the UK, works under a first-to-file system. So it's something you got to look at. It's something you got to look at quickly because you want to be first to file. Because whoever is first to file the IP rights own that right. So you may have that trademark or patents in the UK, but when you go in a different territory, these rights are territorial, they will not be upheld in a different territory. So it's something that I would usually say to companies, the first thing you think of is IP and how to organize that, such that when you enter into another territory, you are protected. Next slide, please. and then we're looking at the contract. So the contract is the blueprint to any relationship. It is where you go to when you know what responsibilities are and when things break down, or when things, as they always do, come to an end. So if you're looking at either a JV, a joint venture with a local partner, or even a supply contract, it's important to carry out your due diligence. You need to make sure you know who you get into bed with, somebody that you are going to have a long and hopefully profitable relationship with. You need to know who they are. So lawyers and accountants can do that for you. You need clear contract terms. You need, of course, your IP protection. And you need to know, everybody needs to know what they need to achieve in this contract. So you need your milestones and penalties if you don't achieve those milestones. Insurance and risk mitigation. Choice of law is a particularly hot topic when it comes to cross-border transactions, because you've got to think about which law you want to apply to this contract. If you enter into a contract with somebody local in Indonesia, is it going to be English law? Is it going to be Scottish law, Indonesian law? You need to seek appropriate legal advice when you decide on these factors, because, next slide, when things do not go the way you want it to, how do you resolve the dispute? So that really should be planned for in your contract already. If you decide that you need to take action against the other party, where do you bring the action? Do you bring the action in Indonesia, which you may find daunting because it's not a legal system that's familiar to you, but it's probably worthy of note to say that foreign judgments are not binding. They're not enforceable in Indonesia. So if you've put foreign law in your contract, you've got the judgment in an English court or a Scottish court. You can't enforce it in Indonesia, so it's worthless. So one thing companies are increasingly looking at is international arbitration. This is when you can nominate arbitrators, when the arbitration awards are final and binding. It has an added advantage in that it is confidential. So unlike court proceedings where it's open court, people can walk in and listen to you, air your dirty linen in a sense. But in arbitration, the proceedings are confidential. Next slide, please. So both the UK and Indonesia are signatories to the New York Convention. That means that an award that's made in any New York Convention country is enforceable automatically in another country. So you save a lot of red tape applying to the court for special approval for a foreign judgment to be enforced. And so there is a clear preference at the moment among foreign joint venture partners or even supply and goods partners to name arbitration as their preferred way of dispute resolution. Next slide. This is me. So I've got my details on there. Like I said, I'm not an Indonesian lawyer. So you need somebody on the ground. You need somebody on the ground in Indonesia to handhold you, to go through all the licenses that you need to get, all the regulations that you need to go through. We don't have a presence in Indonesia. We are the largest national firm, but we have a global impact. I'm one of many desks. I'm head of China and ASEAN. So I regularly go out to China and to, I think my last trip was to Singapore, and the one before that was to Malaysia. And Indonesia is my next one. So what we do when we're out there is that we form a network of law firms, trusted parties that we hand our clients to. So we work hand in hand to bring that corporate into their country, as we work hand in hand to bring these ASEAN companies into the UK. So if you need expert advice about Indonesia, how to set up a company, how to go around the minimum capital requirement, that's something we can certainly signpost the way for. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Say, as with the other panelists, you've already answered some of the questions that I was going to ask. But let me start off by asking, are there any sectors in which foreign companies are not legally allowed to establish entities? And which are they? Yeah.
There definitely are sectors. I'm not an expert into but I think there is a definitive list. So that's something I'm sure Dinda can answer. But, you know, in terms of the regulation in Indonesia, it has improved tremendously in the last few years. So where they used to operate a negative list, they're now operating a positive list. So I think it's very similar to what we're experiencing in the UK. So it's nothing that is surprising. It's things that will be national security, certain AI.
Education?
Education, I don't believe that's, I can't believe that that's in the negative list, because it certainly is one of the things that they're inviting investments in. And I think education, Indonesia and the UK, as we see from the bilateral sort of education and learning, it certainly is something that both countries are trying to promote actively.
Okay. The next thing, a topic close to lawyers' hearts. The costs of legal, what are the fees like? I mean, can they become prohibitive if you get involved in any kind of legal action? Just drawing on my experience in Malaysia, will you be handed an arbitrary bill at the end of, could you be handed an arbitrary bill at the end of any kind of legal action or anything like that? Just pick a number.
I don't think you could just pick a number, but certainly, you know, I talk about foreign arbitrary awards and the process. So I must make clear that arbitration is not the cheaper option. It is, we think, the cleaner option. So it's certainly useful for larger corporates to look into. But for smaller businesses, you're not going to go into arbitration when you have a dispute with your supplier or somebody you're supplying to in Indonesia. I mean, with any lawyer, you have to speak to them and ask them what the process is, and they will, depending on a case-by-case basis, give you an idea of how much you're looking to spend, if it's just negotiation stage, if it's just a contract stage, or if you have to go to trial, and they usually can give you a pretty accurate assessment of what it would cost you. And you're in control. You're in control the whole time. The only time when you're not in control, I suppose, is if you are the defendant and you are being sued for certain things, and you're being sued in for damages where you will need a lawyer for, and it's not something that you decide to proceed with or not. You have to proceed with it. In this case, again, is speaking to the lawyer, making sure that you have the fee structure that works for you and for your company, and what are the options if these do not work for you. I mean, there's certainly restructuring that you can look at, and those are things that my law firm can help with.
Is there an oversupply of lawyers in Indonesia?
I wouldn't say, I don't know. I've been struggling to find the right partners, so I don't know whether there is an oversupply of Indonesian lawyers, but perhaps, you know, my...
Yeah. Presumably that everything is relative, isn't it? Okay, thank you very much. And then another very important thing, question to ask for anyone entering the market, considering entering the market: how long does it take to establish an entity? Are there certain entities that are faster, certain areas that are faster? Does it take forever to get approval in certain parts of Indonesia?
Yes, please.
Asking the right question to the wrong person.
Registering your company is actually won't take long. I mean, the process in the Ministry of Law will be to get your fees and all with the lawyers and everything. I think will only take like a month.
Okay.
Top. But in terms of licensing, it will be depends on the sectors that you're into. Like what I've said before, that if you are in the trading or commerce, then it will be much more easier. now that we introduced the risk-based analysis for licensing, so there not every sectors is based on have to have license. There are sectors that you can only use, you can use your business identification number, and that's it. You can run your business. But for specific or more strategic sectors, namely like maybe the mining and energy, the process will take longer than compared to the trading and commerce.
So it's sector specific rather than size, is it?
Pardon?
Sector specific.
Yes, sector specific in licensing, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. With that, I'd like to open up questions to the floor. Anyone have any questions about the law in Indonesia? Do we have any lawyers in the audience? Would you like to ask a question? Or would you like to share? Do you have a story to tell us? Or?
Oh, I've got plenty of stories.
Yeah. One that's legally acceptable?
No, I would just like to reiterate what Sarah mentioned about dispute resolution, and I know we're trying to be constructive here, but it is a complicated area, and there are plenty of vagaries and uncertainties. But yes, company in the Indonesian courts, you have an automatic right of appeal, so that can end up by, costing 2 or 3 years going up the chain of the Indonesian judicial system. But on the other hand, you have you don't get the penal damages, the kind of multi-million-dollar damages that you get in, say, the US or some common law jurisdictions. And being a civil law jurisdiction, contracts and the contract law is somewhat different to the UK, which means even more recommendation, as Sarah said, to get it reviewed by lawyers. But generally, you wouldn't want to rely totally on your contract. It is generally a matter of having trust in your partner, and if you are just relying on your contract, then you should query whether you should be going into the contract in the first place. But having said that, there are so many success stories. But if something does go wrong, it can be difficult to say the least. And yes, foreign arbitration is the preferred method for the large contracts. There's been a recent change in the Indonesian, called the BANI, the Badan Arbitrasi Nasional Indonesia, the local arbitration court. They're now introducing emergency arbitrations. So there's a lot of options, but sometimes it depends. For example, if you have got an Indonesian company with offshore assets, you might want to try to enforce it offshore, because you may get the arbitration award, but enforcing it can be problematic in some cases. So it's a difficult area.
Okay, thank you very much. Final question from anyone?
Thank you. This is a question for most of the panel, actually, to be honest, but it's the £520,000 entry. That's quite a significant barrier to entry for a startup. My name's Craig Smith. I've been working with oil and gas companies for the last 20 years. So it's big business. We tend not to have a problem with setting up companies, and it's a small price to pay. But thinking of Microsoft, AWS, Google, those big companies that are investing heavily in Indonesia just now in data centers, who are also bringing with them renewables, they are fed by startups. The growth will be fed by startups. People in here may be thinking about, doing a startup themselves and investing in £520,000 is quite a significant barrier. Is there been any thought as to potentially reducing that, or is there any other way you can do that in terms of
That is a very pertinent question, and is a question that comes up all the time. There are reasons for that minimum capital, and I think that there are ways that you could, I wouldn't say circumvent, but there are creative ways that you could, as a foreign entity entering the market, do it so that your initial cash injection isn't that great. That is to have a local partner. And if you had a local partner, what you could do is that you could provide some kind of a loan to them, a convertible loan, and which means that if you enter the market as a sort of a loan holder, you could convert that if the market is a go. So that's one way of, I think it's quite popular among sort of the tech companies as well. Because other than that, I don't think, well, I don't know policy-wise whether or not there's any ideas to bring that down, but certainly what I'm seeing is that they could get into joint ventures, or they could provide loans to local companies.
Yes, just add a little on the paid-up capital issues. Definitely a growing discussion here because of the development of growing natures of startups all over the world. Up until now, there is no discussions, especially on lowering the paid-up capital. As Sarah mentioned, you can work around it to find a way, a creative way to address it. But like a continuation of investment regulations in Indonesia, if we have inputs like concerns about this paid-up capital in terms of startup companies, there may be to start the discussions in terms of the policy level. I think that can what can I add to this. Thank you.
Thank you. It's good to hear that the conversation started and it's a pertinent discussion. Thank you.
And thank you very much. If there are no further questions, I'd like to end with a final question that is probably not in the forefront of everyone's mind in Scotland, but it certainly is in Asia. Artificial intelligence is sweeping across Asia. It's transforming organizational structures, labor markets. It will affect legal, investment, and banking. In Indonesia, how fast and when? Just a quick answer from all three panelists. How fast is it going to hit banking and when? Or has it happened already?
I cannot answer how fast, but I will give an example that in those central banks, we use artificial intelligence to process the data and so on. So the decision is really based on the good foundations. That's all.
Okay. Thanks.
In terms of AI, definitely already been developed in businesses in Indonesia, already been used, and it also been addressed to make a policy review in terms of how the AI is used and how to benefit from the AI itself. So I think we can hear more on the policy review regarding the how to beneficial from how to get benefit from the AI itself.
So I can speak for, in UK law firms, AI is certainly being adopted. And I've spoken to ASEAN companies, where tech companies are coming out from the ASEAN, where they are coming up with AI solutions for lawyers. So, you know, it used to be that we had to go to a dusty library to look for books and search for case law. But now everything's on the system, and you key in some keywords, and it'll tell you whether you're going to win or lose. And so that's going to take over, and I'm sure
for free?
Yes, yeah, for a small fee. So that's going to take over, certainly, and it's a revolution that's sweeping, and I think being led by Asia.
And by Indonesia, that's transforming the digital economy. Anyway, on that note, thank you so much for joining us today. I'd like to give you a big round of applause for your insights. Thank you very much. And we'll have closing remarks from Roddy Gow. Please.
Well, you've kept amazingly well to time, although for some strange academic reason, the clock behind me says it's not what the time is. So you've been very patient. We're just after 11:30, and this is the hour that you've got to eat food outside and to network and to talk to each other. But on behalf of all of you in the audience, thank you for your questions. Panelists, thank you very much for your presentations and answers. To Jonathan for being the moderator. But this just all goes to show how by gathering together and getting the right people in the room, we can learn an enormous amount about each other's cultures. I find it strange, although, of course, unfortunately, Angus, the minister, is gone, that Indonesia does not occupy a higher priority amongst the target lists of companies on which the Scottish Government is focusing. And the challenge to Indonesia and to the rest of you is to get the message out there that this is a huge potential market, that there are quite strong historical connections between Scotland and the UK and Indonesia, and we should be doing everything that we can to leverage those. So to all of you, thank you for coming. I hope that if you haven't been to an Asia Scotland Institute event before, you will come again, and that you will consider ways of helping support us so that we can mount more programs in the future. And this has been part of a series of ambassadorial visits that we've had, and we will continue to have going forward. So, Your Excellency, thank you. Team, thank you very much. And to all of you, please do go next door, and if you can stay, there's food there, both for eating and for thought and conversation. Thanks very much.